Welcome. Today we're going to talk about the Internet filter. Remember that this option is only available for configuration by the administrator profile. First, we will log into the system as administrator. Next, go to the menu on the left, find and click on the Internet filter option. This page will open, and we will first find the two options for configuring the type of control, which are apply the Internet filter control to all user profiles, or apply the Internet filter control to each type of user profile. By default, the type of control that will already be active is Apply to All, as you can see on the screen. This is even the recommended default setting. In this case, the control made for the Internet filter and bandwidth will be applied to any and all C3 microcloud users. But if the type of Internet filter control is Apply by Profile, as indicated on the screen now, it means that, when enabling this option, we will first need to make some settings on the proxy. In addition, the whitelist and blacklist settings will have to be made for each type of user profile. For this option, specifically, there is another video explaining advanced Internet filter settings, detailing the entire step-by-step process and showing various examples. In this video, we're only going to go through the recommended default settings for the Internet filter. So, let's go. After keeping the Apply to All control option enabled, we'll scroll a little further down the page until we reach the Internet filter options. By default, this option is disabled. This means that if it remains disabled, it will not be possible to configure either the whitelist or the blacklist. Therefore, in order for us to be able to configure our Internet filter, we will enable this option. Next, we'll choose the type of list we're going to set up. We'll start by explaining the permissive list, which means that all websites will be blocked from access, except those that have been included in the permissive list. Here is an important note. There are some websites that have advertisements, banners, etc., which, when clicked on, direct us to other domains. If you're going to include this type of URL in the whitelist, you'll also need to include all the domains belonging to the banners, advertisements, etc., which, when clicked on, direct you to other domains. To make this clear, let's look at a practical example. Let's open a new tab in the browser before making the whitelist settings, and let's type in a URL of a news domain that has several advertising banners in it, as is indicated on the screen now. So this URL has various information and also various advertising banners which, when clicked on, direct us to other websites. Take a good look at the view of this website before we set up our whitelist. So back to our C3 microcloud, in the Internet filter option, specifically configuring our whitelist, we will click on the Manage Domain List button. This view will then open and we will click on the Add Domains button. Here, as shown on the screen, we can enter several URLs at once, as long as each one is on a separate line. Another important piece of information, also indicated on the screen now, is that if you enter a URL in an incorrect format, it will be disregarded. What is an incorrect format? If you type, for example, www before the domain name, or the HTTP or HTTPS protocols before the domain name, this format is therefore incorrect. We only need to type the domain name. Let's look at an example. Here I've entered 3 domains, google.com, bbc.com, and that site we showed you earlier, uol.com.br. This is the format in which we should enter our domains. After entering the desired domains, we will click on the Create button, and if we want to delete any website that may have been entered incorrectly or that we want to exclude from the list, we simply click on the button that appears next to the domain name. The trash can icon will automatically appear, as you can see on the screen. Simply click on the trash can icon and the domain will be deleted. But since it's not in our interest to do that now, we'll just show you an example since all our domains are correct. Now just click on the Save button. An alert will appear to say that the domain list has been saved successfully. Next, we'll click on the Save button as shown on the screen, and we'll also get a warning that the internet filters have been saved successfully. Now, let's do our test by opening a new tab in our browser and typing in the domains that are part of my whitelist. Starting with google.com, which is allowed. Next, we tested the news website bbc.com, which is also allowed. Finally, we tested the uol.com BR website. Let's remember the previous view of this website, before it became part of the whitelist, when we hadn't done any configuration. All the banners and advertisements appeared correctly and perfectly. So, if this website has become part of the C3 MicroCloud whitelist, why are these banners not being shown correctly? Precisely because they direct us to other domains, and in order for them to appear correctly here, we would have had to add all these other domains to the whitelist as well. Returning again to the Internet filter settings, we are now going to set up our restrictive list. This means that all websites can be accessed, except those that have been included in the restrictive list. Next, we'll click on the Manage Domain List button. This view will open. We'll proceed in the same way, just pointing out that we can also enter several URLs at once, as long as each one is on a separate line, and that incorrect URLs will be ignored. This time, we're going to test the Import Sites button. In this case, clicking on this button will show us where, on our device, we can find this list. Important: this list must be in TXT format. After clicking on this list, we will click on the Open button as shown on the screen, and this list will be automatically loaded. You'll notice that, on purpose, I had inserted a URL in this list, which is now in the wrong format. In this case, it will be automatically ignored, i.e., it will not be part of our restrictive list. What we would need to do is, after clicking on the Create button and detecting that there is an incorrect URL in this list, we would need to click on the little box that appears next to that URL, and automatically the trash can icon will appear. With that, we will click on the trash can icon and that URL will be deleted. So that we can include this URL correctly in the restrictive list, we must click on the Add Domain button and then insert this URL in the correct format, i.e., in the case of our example, just youtube.com. Once this is done, click on the Create button, and that's it. Now my restrictive list is all correct. Next, click on the Save button, and you'll be notified that this domain list has been successfully saved. Next, we will click on the Save button, as indicated on the screen, and a new warning will be issued that the Internet filters have been saved successfully. Now it's time to put it to the test. We opened a new tab in our browser and typed in the websites on my restrictive list, starting with Facebook.com, which was denied access, and Instagram.com, which was also denied access. Finally, we tested YouTube.com, which was also denied access as we had configured. The restrictive list turns out to be easier to set up, as you can see from the step-by-step instructions. Finally, by scrolling down the screen, you will find the last option for configuring your C3 MicroCloud's Internet filter, among the others explained earlier in this video. Here we can restrict the bandwidth. By default, this option is disabled. By enabling this option, we can configure and limit the maximum internet connection speed as well as the maximum amount of information consumed, i.e. sent and received, per second by the user via the internet. In our practical example, we will keep this limit at 2 megabytes per second. Next, click on the Save button, as indicated on the screen. A warning will appear that the internet filter has been successfully saved. Now it's time to put this to the test. To do this, we'll open a new tab in our browser and we'll type in a domain that measures the actual maximum speed of the internet. As we can see, our internet speed is currently 1.9 megabytes per second. This is within the maximum limit of up to 2 megabytes per second that we had previously limited the user to. Critical Links thanks you for your attention.